most coaches don't realize is that not all content is the same. You're not getting growth. You're doing all the right things, but you're not getting anywhere. Posting more doesn't equal growth. So if you're a divorced mom who's been thinking about starting a coaching business, or maybe you've already started posting, you've already dipped your toe in the water, you've got a business, but you are feeling stuck in your growth on social media, particularly Instagram, well, then this episode is for you. You know, I wanted to do this episode because one of the most frustrating things I know personally from, building my business from scratch and having to learn social media from the ground up, one of the most frustrating things is when you feel like you're putting out content constantly and it's just crickets. The only people that are responding are your friends and your family. You're not getting growth. You're following, what you think you are supposed to be doing, right? You're watching different social media growth experts tell you different tricks and hacks and things that you're supposed to be doing. And you feel like you're doing all the right things, but you're not getting anywhere. It's crickets in your DMs. And ultimately, why we have social media is because social media is a vehicle, right? Social media is a vehicle for getting clients and attracting our ideal clients. And so when you're not growing on social media, it can be very, very frustrating. And I get it because I've been there. God, especially if you feel like you're being so damn consistent and it's just nowhere. I mean, it really will get you so frustrated to where you're like, what the hell's the point? Then when it starts to feel hard, and this is what I know, especially about my divorced moms who are trying to launch their business, most of them are working full time. Like when you feel like you are already running on, empty and like already stretched so thin, if you feel like you're putting so much effort into it and it's just not getting results, it's so hard, especially if you are really putting your emotion into it. I mean, I know for me, like, damn, it kind of hurts your feelings, right? Like when you put out a piece of content where you really were vulnerable and you really shared your, just shared a lot and you got honest and emotional and then like it doesn't hit, I think that kind of can hurt, right? So, one of the things that I teach my clients is to really like detach emotion from social media. We'll get into that in just a second. But really today, I wanted to break down why posting consistently when it comes to social media is not always enough. And really, if you are somebody who's posting consistently, what you can do differently in order to get the traction. So if you're already ready though for the full strategy of exactly how to grow on Instagram, I have something huge coming up very soon. Actually, the doors are going to open June 10th. It is for my brand new social media growth course. You guys, I got to tell you, I've been building out this course for the last month and I am so effing excited about it because I am really taking all of my best shit. I'm not gatekeeping any. I am literally teaching you, screenshots, exact scripts that I use. Like I am teaching you my exact shit. Not only that has worked for me and the growth of not one, but two online businesses, but also the results that happen with my clients when they implement these strategies. So that is called Content to Clients. And you can grab the link in the show notes and actually join the interest list so that you are the first to know. Cause I got to tell you, I'm doing something super special with this pricing that I've never done before. Trust me on this. You're going to want to get it first. Okay. I'm revealing more of that later, but just trust me on this. You're going to want to be first in line. So let's just dive right in and talk a little bit then about why posting more doesn't equal growth. And I wanted to bring this as the first point of this and really kind of talk about why consistency doesn't always equal growth is because one of the things when I'm talking to clients and we're talking about their social media and their social media strategy, that's one way that I very tactically work with my clients is really hand holding them, especially in the beginning, to really growing their social media. And oftentimes what I hear is okay, well, I'm not getting attraction, but I guess I just need to post more. And then you start posting more. I've got one client, she was posting 4 times a day and she just wasn't getting anywhere. And when she first came to me and I told her, I said, we need to back that up. First of all, that's not even how I coach divorced moms to run their social media for their business because who the hell has time for that? I don't know about y'all, but I don't have time to post 4 times a day. Unless I'm launching a product and in launch mode and those posts are strategically planned out, I am not posting 4 times a day at all. That is a fast way to burn you out, especially if you're not getting the results. And so with this particular client, so when she started started posting, when we kind of like zoomed out, we pulled off of posting 4 times a day. And when she started implementing the strategies that I taught her and the exact strategies that I use in my business, the exact strategies I'm teaching in content to clients, then she noticed like a 10x increase in her views. So she went from like posts that were getting like 200 views. Now all of a sudden she has a strategy, and we've been working on her content and her hook and her caption and all the things. And now it's like 2,000. Now it's even like 3,000, 4,000. She's got one that went from like, up to 7,000, 10,000. So these strategies really do work, but the answer is not always posting more. One of the key things that I worked on with her, and this is really something that I see a lot of, one of the biggest, I think, mistakes that I see is when you are posting, they're not posting enough like connection type pieces that really connect on an emotional level to your ideal client. And what goes part of being able to get really good at creating connection content that really resonates with your ideal client is really doing the work on the front end, what we call in the kind of marketing term, like avatar work or like your ideal client work. And what I mean by that is really going deep into like the psychographics, the demographics, like specifically what are like not only the macro problems that they struggle with, right? Like maybe they feel overwhelmed, they feel frustrated, but how can we take those macro problems and actually create micro problems for them, right? Like how can we take those macro problems and actually drill down and get super, super specific of how do those macro problems show up for that person on the daily? Okay, it's one thing to say like, oh, I feel very frustrated, but how does frustration show up for them on the daily? Is it maybe that they are getting ready for work in the morning and, they end up losing their shit on their kids, right? And so you can actually kind of tease that out a little bit and get really specific with it to where someone reads that and it was like, oh shit. Like that was me this morning. Like, were you a camera in my room, right? Like in my kitchen? That is the response that we want from people. Even if you're doing a solutions type post where you're teaching somebody tips or tricks or whatever that looks like, being able to get really, really specific on what they are struggling with, that is where the connection happens, right? Because when people believe, and this is not like some slimy sales psychology tactic, it's just the truth, right? Like when somebody believes that you understand exactly where they're at, then on a subconscious level, they believe that you have the solution for them. Because if you understand exactly where they're at, then you understand where they're trying to go. So that is really the first thing, is that I think, when it comes to why posting doesn't always equal growth, the biggest thing has to do with, is your content really connecting? And are you being specific enough with what your client is struggling with? Okay. The second thing that I see that really, I think limits how much people grow, and really this also, it leads to a much bigger conversation, is not necessarily how much by not doing what I'm about to share with you. It's not only does it affect your growth, but it also will affect your conversion, meaning, turning followers into buyers. And what most coaches don't realize is that not all content is the same. And if you really want to grow your business from your content, use social media, not just as a hobby, but as a sales mechanism for growing your business, then there are 3 types of content. And I teach these 3 types of content in content to clients. And I call them the ABCs of content. And I really distill them down to like 3 types of content that I rotate regularly in my content creation. Whether I rotate it weekly or just through the month, I definitely am very cognizant of rotating these 3 different types of content. And the first one is attraction content. Okay. Now this is the type of content that brings in new people. I got to tell you, Reels right now, for what the algorithm is doing, and I've seen this really for the last year, Reels is really what the algorithm is prioritizing for attraction style pieces. So when I'm usually doing Reels, and it's not always, I still do Reels, that for other types of content, but for the most part, I know that Reels have the best chance of getting pushed out to new people. So when I'm sitting down to write my content strategy for the week or for the month or whatever that looks like, I am prioritizing some of my more, what we call in the online space, we call top of funnel, which means these are new people coming into your ecosystem. Think about your business as a funnel. Bottom of the funnel is people who buy. At the top of the funnel are people who are just coming into your ecosystem. And reels really have the best opportunity to be pushed out to new people. And in fact, when a reel starts getting pushed out to new people, it stops getting pushed out to your audience, to the people who already follow you. So mixing in some attraction content is amazing, but you can't just always do attraction content. Now, attraction content, and again, I go a lot deeper in this in content to clients, but attraction content really is for, again, think about this like people who are brand new to you. Brand new to you. But if we're constantly doing this type of kind of like top of funnel who are brand new to me, then we're not ever allowing our audience to go deeper with us and get more indoctrinated into our systems and our processes and our beliefs and the way that we actually coach clients. And so we can't just do attraction content. So the next type of content that I teach, the B content, I call this believability content. And really what this is this is the type of content that establishes you as an authority. This is the type of content that builds trust, right? And really shows you, kind of highlights you as the expert. That is the goal here, right? In order to build trust, like kind of the way the customer journey goes, especially as like using social media as the vehicle, people come into the ecosystem, but then it's a matter of now we've got to start building trust with them. And so we have to start showcasing what we know. So this could look like solutions posts, 3 tips to X, Y, and Z, right? Or 3 things I wish I knew before I entered the dating scene as a divorced mom, something like that, right? Like where you're teaching them a hack or a tip or a strategy, right? I might do a post about, hey, here are the 3 steps. It's not always 3 steps. That's apparently what's on my mind right now. Like 3 steps to nailing your niche or whatever that looks like, right? And the key here is this is where we get the opportunity not only to start showcasing what we know, but to start weaving in some of our IP, some of our methods and frameworks that are individually ours. Now, that's a whole other podcast for a whole other day, is talking about frameworks and how important that is to create your own methods, because that is what makes you stand out in the market. In fact, I'm doing it with you right now. The ABCs, that's my proprietary method. That's something that I teach my students that you won't find anywhere else. And it's really, really important. But with believability content, that's where you get to start weaving that in. What I see is I actually see creators oftentimes, if they're doing too much of the believability content, too much of the solutions type, and they're not doing enough attraction pieces. And the other type of content that's really important is conversion content. Now, the reason why I put this in here, and that's the C, the C of the ABCs, is because a lot of times what I see with coaches is they're not putting their offer out there enough. And they're not actually having a call to action to showcase what they feel like maybe it's like they're being too salesy or they're selling too much. But at the end of the day, remember, social media is not a business. We have to be sharing with our audience what we offer. And I want you to really, if you feel icky about that, I want you to have a reframe. Think about it as a service. It is a service. You know what they are struggling with, and you have the solution to help them with it. So why would you gatekeep it? Why would you gatekeep it? Right? So think about it as a service as opposed to like a slimy sales tactic. It's absolutely not. So we definitely want to make sure that you are incorporating all 3 of those. Now, I want you today, if you're not sure, I want to just share with you really quickly on how you can audit your like last few posts and some things to actually, I want to give you some specific questions that you can analyze each post. And I want you to look at, let's say, the last 9 or 10 posts. Okay. Look at the last 9 or 10 posts, whether it was a carousel, a reel, whatever it was. And I want you to ask yourself these 4 very specific questions. Number 1, who is it speaking to? Like when you look at the post, can you tell exactly who it's for? Look at your hook. Look at it, just even at your hook. Do you have the identifier in the hook? Meaning, like, is it very clear that, let's say you are talking to women over 40, or you are talking to divorced moms, or you are like, whoever this is it clear on exactly who the post is for? That's number 1. Number 2, does this post speak to a real problem that they are aware of, right? And that's the key thing. Are they aware of it? Oftentimes, we are not meeting people exactly where they're at, and we are addressing problems. I'm doing this in quotes if you're not watching on YouTube. We're addressing problems that we as the coach know that they have because we've done the work, but it might not be top of mind for them, which is why it's not landing. So we really want to address it from a standpoint of, is this something that they can nod their head and be like, oh shit, yeah, that's me? Are they aware of it? The third one is would somebody brand new feel like this post is for them? Now, this is a key one, particularly when it comes to attraction posts, because I think you can kind of get away with, especially when you're doing believability posts, and that maybe that like people who already follow you, they may understand a little bit of like kind of your background or whatever that looks like. I still highly recommend though, that whenever you write any post, just always do it through the lens of, would somebody brand new feel like this post is for them? Or is it only making sense to the people that know me? Like maybe even know me on a personal level. And if the answer is the latter, then there's a little work that needs to be done there. Okay. So always looking through it through that lens. And then the last question is there a reason to stop and engage? Like, is there a bold hook? Like a hook, and I dive deep into hooks. In fact, I'm giving you, even as a special bonus for Content to Clients, I'm giving you guys like my best performing hooks because I encourage people, yes, steal them, use them. Okay. Seriously. But hooks are everything. So does it have a bold hook? Does it give, maybe is there a strong call to action? These are things I want you to be paying attention to. So if the answer is mostly no, when you analyze these posts, then girl, you don't have a consistency problem. Okay. You've got an attraction problem. You're struggling to get your ideal client in. And that's exactly what we're fixing in Content to Clients. Seriously, I'm so freaking pumped about this course. So now that you've done the audit, right, let's talk about what's next, right? We've got to make this shift from really the idea of necessarily posting for the algorithm, right? Thinking that if we just post more, we have to really shift into creating a content strategy that actually grows your business. So I want to, like I said, because I don't want you guys to sleep on this new course that I've got coming out in Content to Clients. I am going to give you the exact tools to do that. So I'm going to be teaching you my proprietary viral formula. This is the formula that only, over a 6-month period, I had over 40 reels go viral, and I had even 12,000 new followers from just one post. So I'm going to be teaching that exact method. This is also the method that I teach all of my clients as well, and is responsible for their growth as well. So I'm going to be teaching you that. I'm also going to be teaching you a rinse and repeat system that actually brings in aligned clients. We're going to be breaking down very specifically, exactly step by step, how to create content that converts and that actually brings in your ideal client. So you guys, I want you guys to do that audit, take a look and do an honest reflection of your content and see, just kind of get an idea of where you're at. And if you want to jump on the interest list for Content to Clients, so you're the first to know, head to the link in the show notes and add your name. There's no obligation. And I don't sell your email or anything like that. Again, just with this pricing structure, I'm not going to give you guys too much, but I'll tell you this, with this pricing structure, girl, trust me on this, you want to be the first in line to get it. So that's all I have for you guys today. Thanks so much for listening, and I'll catch you on the next one.